because Hollywood cannot give us high-stakes, interesting heist films any longer. People are taking it on themselves in obvious rebellion against Hollywood. There was an extremely valuable bevy of items stolen from the Louvre. And this is a wild and still developing story. I'm going to show you some of the pictures from the event. I'm going to give you part of an article from the event. But after that, guys, I have some observations on this that I haven't seen anyone talking about. That this is not good. I don't think that this is... Obviously, things being stolen is bad. The fact that things such as this were being stolen in such a brazen way, I think, is possibly a very bad thing, and it could portend other very bad things. So, not to sort of, hopefully not to prescribe the future, but we have seen activists who are throwing paint at famous paintings, who are gluing themselves to famous paintings. We have seen in certain regions of the world terrorist organizations who seek out archaeological sites to explode them, because that is what you do when you have absolutely no arguments of value. You try to destroy someone else's arguments of value, points of contention. But something like this happening in this way, I think, is only going to embolden actions like that, because these guys seem to have gotten away with this in pretty classic Hollywood fashion. There's a reason I keep talking about the movies here. So apparently they drove up to the Louvre on motorcycles with an extended ladder. I believe this is supposedly the ladder in question, but it looks to me as if that is part of a larger piece of equipment. Unless they came up with that, they then scaled into the second story of the Louvre, because it is under construction, broke in, and they were, as we see here, disguised as construction workers. And it was a smash and grab. They were in, they were out, lickety-split. These are some of the things that were stolen. Now, I believe, so they reportedly were in such a mad dash and had so many goodies on them that they dropped something and did not get to steal it. I believe this is the piece that was dropped. I believe all three of these pieces are among the things that were stolen. These pieces, too, were stolen. Look at all of that. If this is an incredible amount of jewelry, of precious stones, this is wild, wild stuff. And these are among the stolen items as well. It was my little sister's birthday recently. Couldn't quite afford these, but I got her something fairly nice instead. This is an article from CNN. Thieves steal priceless jewelry from the Louvre in 7-minute raid by Michael Galliambu, Caitlin Donaher, and Saskia Van Doorn. And it's going to tell you a lot about the state of modern media, that it took 3 people to write this article. But it did, and all of media is failing because of the rise of independent media. Thieves stole priceless jewelry from the Louvre in Paris in an audacious 7-minute raid that took place just after the world's most visited museum opened on Sunday. In what appeared to be a professional heist, the robbers used one truck-mounted ladder to gain access to... So this is this is opposite to something else that I've seen, that they came up on motorcycles. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. I'm not sure if we will get clarification further in the future or not. Probably, I would assume not, right? as to discourage others from doing the same. The robbers used a truck-mounted ladder to gain access to the Apollo Gallery, one of the most ornate rooms in the Louvre, and made off with artifacts from the French crown jewels dating from the Napoleonic era. 2 high-security display cases were targeted, and 8 of the 9 items taken remain unaccounted for, including a tiara and necklace worn by Queen Anne-Marie Amélie. The Queen Hortense, the French Culture Ministry, said in a statement. The thieves forced open a window using an angle grinder and stole jewelry that has sentimental value and is priceless, French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said. Now, the interesting thing about this, a window using an angle grinder. You would have had to know what type of angle grinder you would need. You would have had to know that you could get into this window with an angle grinder. You would have had to know that there was no further security apparatus on the inside of this window. You would have had to do a lot of casing, or you would have had a person on the inside. Now, I know talking about Hollywood, having a person on the inside is about as Hollywood as it gets, right? But these windows are not ground level. And certainly, the outside of these windows is not very easy to see. So these people knew that this area was under construction, knew the items that were in this area of the museum, knew that those items had not been evacuated to some safer keeping place during construction, knew a point of entry and how to break in. 4 perpetrators appear to have been involved in the theft who were unarmed but threatened the guards with the angle grinders, Paris prosecutor Laura Baccaau said. Beccuau. How in the world do you say that? Here is how I know that these thieves are not American. Because for some reason, a lot of the articles that you'll see on this comment 13% of the people who visit the Louvre on a yearly basis are American. As if, oh, okay, well, it's the wild Americans doing this. No, these people were unarmed and threatened guards with an angle grinder. That's not us. That's not us. No. If there were no pew-pews, that wasn't us. The thieves dropped or left behind one item. They dropped it. It's not like they said, we don't need this one. Dropped or left behind the crown of Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III. The ornate gold piece which features 1,354 diamonds and 56 emeralds, was damaged in the heist, prosecutor said. An ornate gold piece with 1,354 diamonds and 56 emeralds was damaged. What do you think the insurance claim is on that? Absolutely wild. Beyond their market value, the items have inestimable heritage and historical value, the Interior Ministry said in a statement. French President Emmanuel Macron said that everything is being done to catch the suspects. Yes, because if anyone knows anything about law enforcement, it's Emmanuel Macron. The theft committed at the Louvre is an attack on a heritage we cherish because it is part of our history, Macron said on X. We will recover the works and the perpetrators will be brought to justice. A detailed list of the stolen items released by the Culture Ministry revealed a single earring from a sapphire parure of Queen Marie Amélie, the Queen Hortense, an emerald necklace, and a pair of earrings from the parure, I have no idea what that word is, I'm going to be very honest with you, of Empress Marie Louise. I'm way too poor to know what that word means. The reliquary brooch and the tiara and large corsage bow brooch of Empress Eugenie were stolen in the heist. These words are so rich, they are tongue-tying me. An attempt to set fire to the truck used to carry out the raid was foiled by a Louvre security officer, according to the Culture Ministry's statements. So apparently, an investigation for aggravated theft and organized gang and criminal conspiracy to commit felony has been opened by Paris police under authority of Public Prosecutor's Office. Okay, so maybe this is what happened. Okay. Now it's making more sense to me. So someone drove up the truck with the extendable ladder, and they all got away on motorcycles. Get out, evacuate. The robbery took only 7 minutes, with the suspects fleeing on motorcycles. Nunez told France Interradio clearly a team had been scouting the location. It was obviously a very experienced team that acted very, very quickly. He said. I assume that's a typo. According to Le Parisien newspaper, police found 2 angle grinders, a blowtorch, gasoline, gloves, a walkie-talkie, a blanket, and a crown at the scene of the robbery. A yellow vest used by the perpetrators to disguise themselves as workmen was found a bit further away lost during their escape, the newspaper said. Video from the scene showed French police examining the abandoned furniture elevator positioned next to a corner of the Louvre, with its ladder leading up to a broken window off of a balcony. So here's the things that I have not really seen talked about here. There's a ton of things in the Louvre. Tons of things. There are tons of things, I'm sure, outside of what was stolen that are in the section of the Louvre where these individuals broke in. They didn't take those things. They took these things. I am assuming they knew what it was for which they were looking. They knew how to get in. They had practiced that part. They knew exactly how they were going to escape. They practiced that part. They mishapped by dropping one of the pieces. By the way, depending on whether or not they were wearing gloves, emeralds are going to pick up fingerprints very, very easily. So, but anyway, they knew all of this stuff. It says to me that they knew the exact items for which they were headed. They knew exactly where to get there. They knew exactly what items they needed. They knew exactly how to get in, which window to enter in order to be closest to these things. They grabbed them and they went. So they were looking, almost as if they were shopping, for these very things. The number 2 thing here that leads me into a direction that I don't think anyone wants to admit, you don't sell these at the local pawn shop. You can't sell these. You cannot sell these. Imagine going to someone, the Mona Lisa is in the Louvre as well. Imagine showing up at somebody's house and saying, hey, I've got a painting, would you like to buy it? And it's the Mona Lisa. No, they don't want to buy it. And yes, you should be on your way because so are the police. It is obvious that you stole these things. It is obvious that these things do not belong to you. And not only that, if you're selling them to someone who has the money to buy them, the only people who have the money to buy these things are going to be the type of people who want to display things they have, aren't they? No, we're going to get back to this later. But there's very few people in the world with the money to even give you the price that this would be for, in precious metals, we call it melt value, right? So if you have a piece of a jewelry that is made from silver, what is the melt value of the silver? That's the value that you can always get for it, right? What do those 1,352 diamonds and 57 emeralds cost? That's the melt value, right? These things are not priced at melt value. These things are worth much, much more than that. So if you knew what it was you were going for, and so, okay, you knew what it was you were going for, and you can't sell it. What does that make it sound like? That makes it sound like these weren't thieves coming in to steal things. It makes it sound like this was a hit squad hired to take these specific things. Meaning there is someone very, very rich and or very, very powerful that decided, I want X, Y, and Z. The museum will never let me buy X, Y, and Z, but I bet I could steal X, Y, and Z. Once you steal it, you can't put it on display. Anyone who sees it and knows what it is would turn you in immediately, because there's no question in my mind the French government is going to put up $1 million reward on this stuff, right? And $1 million is probably lowballing it. It's probably going to be much higher than that. Which means that we have a legitimate Batman villain walking around the face of this planet somewhere. Again, you can't sell these things. Again, these people knew exactly what they were looking for. This isn't a theft. This isn't just a theft. This isn't robbery. This is a hit job. They were sent there by someone who wants these very specific things in order to never show them to anyone. This is a very scary individual. If what I'm saying is, if my assumptions are correct. Now here's the scariest part of it. Well, no, that's the scariest part of this. Undoubtedly. The fact that there is someone out there who thinks, I'm rich, I'm powerful, I want these specific things. Yeah, I'll just hire someone to take them. And not only, so I mean, you when you think of people like this, you have to imagine George Soros first and foremost, right? Someone on that level. Not that I'm accusing George Soros of being behind this, but you think someone of that level is what it would take to put the resources behind this necessary. George Soros is not going to live to 200 years old. If George Soros takes this and puts it in his private collection and passes away the next week, everybody knows George Soros funded this type. Again, not saying it was George Soros, but a George Soros type character. This has to be someone fairly young, very rich, very powerful. The second, I guess I should say, scariest thing about this is this. When was the last time you heard about this? The Mona Lisa itself was stolen in like 1910? Was it 1910 or 1810? Something like that. The beginning of one of the previous centuries. Was stolen back then. Somebody just walked in, plucked it off the wall, and took it home. If I'm remembering the story correctly, it was that simple. The security guard wasn't paying attention and someone stole the Mona Lisa, and it was like 3 days before anybody discovered it, something like that. But I haven't heard of anything like this actually happening since. No, maybe it has, and the Louvre has very good reason to cover it up, right? You don't want to encourage things like this happening. But it did happen this time. How terrifying is it? And look, I make political arguments on this channel sometimes. I'm not making a political argument right now. I'm just using powers of observation in this moment. How terrifying is it that probably the most culturally, artifactually rich country in the world, the country with the most and the greatest cultural artifacts, is France? And things keep getting set on fire in France. The country in the world with the most cultural, highest cultural value artifacts in the world is France, that can't get their stuff together. The country in the world with the greatest collection of cultural wealth right now is France, that everyone I've ever heard say smells like piss and defecation. The most culturally rich country in the world right now is one that looks kind of like the worst cities in the United States, from a homelessness standpoint, from a wild and raucous crowds standpoint. Maybe, if I can put this out there, maybe this isn't someone just trying to get away with something. Maybe what is going on here is some well-meaning scholar saying, look, we have to rescue the world from all of this culture going to pot in France. We're just going to start bit and piecing it. We're just going to start taking some of it, right? Anyway, guys, one of the wilder stories that I have heard in quite some time. The Louvre is supposed to be second to none in terms of security, but this happened, so we will see. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.